Hello everybody, this is John with BestPriceNutrition.com. Today I am here to review the MusclePharm Arnold Iron Cre or Cre3, and it's green, so it might disappear on the green screen. We don't have a blue screen, guys. It is part of the Arnold series, so those guys, you take it, you're going to get that, that Arnold biceps, triceps. No, that's a joke, and I bring that up just because a lot of questions come up with these products, and I would say just judge them. Let's judge them based on the ingredients in the product, not necessarily whose picture is on it or anything like that. And that's not to denigrate Arnold or anything like that. It has nothing to do with that. But the point is that this is a creatine product. So I'm going to focus on the main ingredient because the other periphery ingredients really aren't going to affect much in terms of the function of the product. And the main ingredient in this is creatine nitrate. It's basically creatine bound to a nitrate, and nitrate we'll cover first. The idea with nitrate is that it can be converted to nitric oxide in your body. Nitric oxide can help dilate blood vessels, reducing the peripheral resistance, which would result in an increase in blood flow, resulting in an increase in protein synthesis. Now, the question is, does that happen in otherwise healthy individuals? And to date, no, that's not what happens. The benefits of nitrate are going to be an increased energy efficiency use. So if you're doing any kind of metabolic conditioning, such as CrossFit or repeated, metabolic type efforts like that, that's where you're going to see a benefit. So that covers the nitrate portion of it. Now onto the creatine. When we talk about creatine, I always compare to creatine monohydrate because creatine monohydrate is the gold standard. It's the form that often gets bashed in marketing by other companies because it's somewhat of a commodity at this point. But the reality is that the benefits of creatine have been demonstrated through creatine monohydrate in research. The vast majority have been done with creatine monohydrate. So that is the gold standard. There's always attempts, sometimes in marketing literature, and this, for instance, they call it regular creatine as a pejorative. Now, let's address some of the issues. One that does make sense is solubility. Now, creatine nitrate is going to be more soluble than creatine monohydrate. And the benefit that you'd see in that sense would be that if you take creatine monohydrate and you do get some discomfort in your GI tract, some cramping, that may be due to that lack of solubility of creatine monohydrate. So one of the remedies could be a product like creatine nitrate, where you're going to get 10 times the solubility, so that wouldn't be an issue. Another alternative would be to use micronized creatine monohydrate. That'll improve the solubility. Now that brings me to my next question. Is solubility the rate-limiting factor for creatine being effective for those who are non-responders? And I would say no, because number one, your body temperature being 37 degrees Celsius, your stomach pH being about 1 to 2, and that's going to be most acidic a couple hours after a meal. Once the food has started to be processed, the gastric juices have been produced. So if you do have those issues, sometimes maybe taking it on an empty stomach a couple hours after a meal might mitigate those factors. But we know that creatine non-responders, one, have a lower initial level of creatine in muscle. Okay, that makes sense. If you add more creatine, you're going to get a greater benefit. Next, they also have more type 2 muscle fiber, fast twitch, things that you're using when you're sprinting or lifting, more explosive type muscle. Think anaerobic activities. Also, they have a greater cross-sectional area of the muscle fiber. So that describes creatine responders. So sometimes when beginners come to me and say, hey, I've taken creatine, it hasn't worked for me, I say, don't use it for a little while. Work on building some muscle, stick with the basics, and then come back and try creatine once you hit a plateau. Because then you may be a responder at that point vis-a-vis having, more type 2 muscle fiber. The other thing to consider too, again, is the dose. We're talking about this here, we're talking about 1 gram of creatine nitrate, and the theory would be that that would be equivalent to, say, about 5 grams of creatine monohydrate. Typical dose of creatine monohydrate, if you really want to break it down, it's going to vary a little bit based on body weight, is 0.05 grams per kilogram or 0.023 grams per pound of body weight. So if you're 180 pounds, we're talking about 4 grams. So does that solubility difference make it such that 1 gram of this is equal to 4 grams of, say, creatine monohydrate or 5 grams? I would say no, because we wouldn't have seen all the positive results that we've seen with creatine monohydrate. At some point, once you're saturated, you're just topping off levels. But again, if you do have those issues with cramping and those other alternatives I gave you, such as using a micronized creatine monohydrate or maybe using it a couple hours after a meal, don't mitigate those factors, then something like this would really be beneficial for you. I would just question the dose. You may have to go a little bit higher than 1 gram of creatine nitrate because there's only 1 human study on it. So I can't say definitively, hey, that'll do it for you. And in reality, creatine monohydrate, when it's been tested against other novel forms of creatine, it's won out. In fact, there's a recent study I'll post it below on creatine versus crealkaline, and it outperforms it at the recommended dose, where they're saying that, hey, if you use this lower dose, you'll get the same benefit of taking X amount more creatine monohydrate. So that's why I always compare it back to creatine monohydrate. It's that reason, because of all that research being done on it. So overall, if you are somebody that wants to try something different, you haven't had success with creatine monohydrate, this could be something to give a shot to. So that would be my recommendation. If you have any other questions on this product, please feel free to post them in the comment section of the video or blog. Happy to answer them. Also, if you like the video, please like the video below. There's a little thumb thing there. And you can check us out at facebook.com/bestpricenutrition. Thanks for watching.